have been raised and to continue the discussion. Thank you.
Again, I pray to the Almighty to bestow upon me His truth, His wisdom, that I may convey His message and so sanctify His name and bring peace to the world. My beard, as you see, is white, and I've been sitting in the halls and in the rooms of the United Nations for many, many years. I've seen the frustration, heard the frustration of many countries, of many distinguished people of organizations who keep on pleading and questioning the normality and how it's possible that we can witness this genocide, this unbelievable genocide, where there's so many human rights groups and the world in the United Nations should allow this. Yet it's going on, and I'm lauding all of you, these organizations and the lawyers who are fighting it, and it's clear, it's clear as day and night that it is unacceptable, that it is murder and inhumane, and yet it's happening. But I would like to take a look at the elephant in the room, and everybody understands this. There's a reason why you're saying the will of humanity allows it to happen. It is because, as we mentioned yesterday, and they mentioned today about the apartheid, it was stopped because of the grassroots. People just made their politicians uncomfortable. The people in the United States and in Europe have bought in from day one because the Holocaust happened, and almost immediately afterwards they ratified the creation of the State of Israel. So it's based on one issue, that people accept that it is against Jews if you stop the State of Israel. It's anti-Semitic. And they also accept that the people who are opposed to the state, that they're evil, and it's acceptable what the State of Israel is doing. There has to be, you should delve in as lawyers, there should be like a class action, something to talk about how, like I was just in Morocco, I mentioned, and now we were in Yemen, we were in all these countries, in Egypt, all these countries had Jews living there. They were living in peace. It is not anti-Semitic. They should fight the State of Israel on this issue, that they are abusing the word of anti-Semitism. As lawyers, you may say, where does that come into your field? It must come into the field because that is the underlying reason why the United States and why Europe, they are allowing Israel to go on, even though they're committing atrocities. Because just like you can take insecticide and spray it on a field to get rid of the ants, they have dehumanized the Palestinian people like the ants in a field because they vilified them to the degree that they're inhumane. Why? Because they label them anti-Semitic and we have a religious conflict. Fight that. Stand up and declare that there is a distinct difference between Judaism and Zionism, that all these countries accept the Jews, and we have nothing against Jews. They're against a new creation called Zionism, which is a purely political, materialistic, nationalistic concept that's flawed and selfish. That is where you must stand up and make court cases about this, and stand up. If you'll just think for 1 second, just bear with me 1 more minute, you have in the the United Nations, when they created a State of Israel, please explain to me how they could create a state where they're looking for a peaceful coexistence in a land, and they declared under the name of a certain religion, meaning that the people who are of the different religions, who are of the other religions, they'll automatically be psychologically second-class citizens. How did they create the United Nations was created to make peace? Why did they give it a name, a Jewish state? But they did it because it was right after the Holocaust, where everybody had guilt of being, they were silenced by the Holocaust. But now the world realizes they were duped. It's not Judaism. Judaism is to serve God and not to occupy, and it's forbidden to occupy. And that the rabbinical authorities around the world, Sephardic and Ashkenazic, the very religious, demand that it was unacceptable to use the name Judaism for this nationalist, flawed, and illegal, and against God occupation of a land. It's illegal. It's not our religion. It has to be readdressed. It has to be changed. It's not a state of Israel. It's a state of a selfish occupation that is not Semitic, and that's against, and the people opposing are anti-Semitic. You have to fight this legal concept of anti-Semitism. You were talking about in the United States that the students are getting all thrown out. Why? Because they're declaring them anti-Semitic. The president declares that the senators who are supporting this became Palestinians. You heard that. We can't allow that. You must fight it at its root. Stand up, somehow find an avenue, an approach that this anti-Semitism is not legally not acceptable at all to talk about. God will help. We will distinguish between the two. Then we will see clearly, unpeel this onion, and see that it is a simple, selfish occupation. It must be stopped, and we will have, with God's help, a free Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi, for your contribution and your strong appeal for an end to the weaponization of anti-Semitism. I wish to give the floor back to our panelists to respond. Diala, please.
Thank you. I'll be brief, but the gentleman with the white beard, I appreciate your comments truly, and you know, on the anti-Semitism point, it is so transparently a bad faith accusation. When we see in the government's filing against Mahmoud Khalil that by participating as a Palestinian student and a refugee who's watching his people be decimated in Gaza, and that when he participates in and helps lead negotiations for a student protest movement, that is anti-Semitic. There's no other way to describe that accusation other than bad faith. There are, of course, you know, the equation of criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism has been something that, you know, Zionist organizations here in the US have been pushing through legislation and other mechanisms for a long time. There are robust legal challenges to those efforts, and you know, unfortunately, with this administration, that push has been given a microphone.